probably noticed that in the quilt menu here, the first 3 stitches are straight stitches. So let me define what each of these are. Stitch number 1324, 1325, and 1326. I like that they put these all on this menu because if I am doing a couple different quilting projects, I have my blanket stitch right here, I've got some feather stitches, I've got my blind applique stitch, I've got the triple version of the blanket stitch and some fun quilting stitches that are often used, crazy quilting. I've got the hand look quilting stitches. Everything's all on the same menu, including the built-in satin stitch. I can change all these to any width that I need and some fun ones. So they do keep these all on one screen. Now a lot of people just don't go to this screen to sew traditional straight stitching when they're piecing. So let me identify each one of these down at the fabric because we're going to zoom in really close to really see what each of the different stitches do. Just so we can see where the needle is going and how many stitches are being taken, I've gone ahead and put on foot number 97D and also engage the dual feed. Make sure that anytime you put a D foot on, bring that lever down from the back, fill in this kind of back gap of the foot so it always has the right amount of feeding. So this first stitch, this one's 1324. This is going to be used for if you're doing some machine quilting. I would say use this because if you need to start somewhere in the middle of your quilt and you need some locking stitches, this is going to start off with 6 tiny little stitches coming forward, and then it will switch to regular straight stitches at a stitch length of 3. Now it's going to start with the traditional little locking stitches that we have turned on, about 4 of those. Then it's going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it's going to start going the longer stitch length. On this one, actually it's 2.5 for stitch length. And then on the screen, there is a blinking reverse button that is going to show, and that means that when you get near the end of where you want to stop, touch that button 1 time and then let it finish with the 6 tiny little stitches. Now if you've ever wanted to take out tiny stitches, you've probably noticed they are not fun to take out. That means that they are very secure. So when we lift up our fabric and cut these, or even just cut with, let me do this because this is how I do it with an actual quilt, is I'll probably take the fabric out, slide it to the side here, and cut my fabric really close with my pair of scissors. Close here, because that is not going to come undone, plus close here on the back side of the fabric. Again, no little threads to hide, and it perfectly seals those off. Right here I can go ahead and trim off. That was my bobbin thread that came up. Sometimes when I machine quilt, I like to have my threads, both of them on the top side, so then I can find them easy and be able to trim them off. So it's more for machine quilting and straight line starts and stops. So let's go on to stitch number 1325. And we'll go ahead and do some stitches here. This stitch length is stitch length of 3. Again, I like this for more of my machine quilting stitches. It's a little longer stitch length. And we could make this one longer too. And it just depends on where you're stitching, how thick your batting is, how thick your thread is, which stitch length you'd like. But this one's just preset for a stitch length of 3, nothing fancy at the beginning or end, and you can just use the thread cutter like you're used to doing. So just a longer stitch length saved on that actual menu. Now, stitch number 1326. Same thing, but the stitch length is set for 2 millimeters. I do find people do enjoy having a shorter stitch length when doing just regular piecing, or if you're doing a paper piecing. This is the stitch length that usually are reduced down to sometimes even a little bit less, so you get a nice perforation when you go to remove the paper. So all 3 of these stitches are right at your fingertips when you are on the quilting menu. So no jumping back and forth to your main menu and then back to your quilting menu. You can stay on there and even customize the lengths for the way you like to quilt or piece. And I love this first one. I know they all look the same on the screen, but this is one that I do use a lot when I'm working with a walking foot or the dual feed and doing straight line quilting on a quilt through batting.